What is up, YouTube? Breaking news: New York riots ambush police as, golly, man, communist mayor takes over. What? Y'all hit that thumbs up, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button and all that good stuff. Let's check this bad boy out, man. This is crazy.
Breaking news, 2 NYPD officers attacked overnight in Times Square. Police say the suspect approached the officers and pepper sprayed them.
Take a look at this video from the scene. This video showing the ambulance taking those two officers to the hospital.
So 2 NYPD officers were recently ambushed in the middle of Times Square. And while this latest assault on police has the law-abiding on edge, New York is poised to elect its first ever socialist mayor, who's got big plans to completely transform the city if President Trump doesn't have him arrested.
Your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, 𝗟𝗜𝗡𝗞𝗦, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him.
Shoot. Nah, hold up, dog. You barking against the wrong people. Wait a minute now. Pump your brakes. Slow your roll. Slow your roll now. You're doing a little too much right there.
𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City.
Well, then we'll have to arrest him.
Investigators tell us that a masked arsonist torched 11 NYPD vehicles overnight and is now taking credit for it on the internet.
This is not about an election. This is about ensuring that immigrant New Yorkers do not need to fear being separated from their families in the most brutal and cruel ways imaginable.
This guy openly wants to promote command and control over the economy, forced redistribution of property.
Well, it's just fascinating to see him talking on video about his plans for socializing grocery stores or housing. We have experienced this before in the world. It's usually a complete and utter disaster, and also a problem for Democrats because they're already viewed as being so extreme, having radical views.
We don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully.
As a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in, I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare.
What kind of talk are you doing, man? Hey, check this.
A bullshit? A bullshit? A bullshit. A bullshit.
Dude, this is the president. What are you thinking? What? How do you part your lips to even say anything so stupid? The president of the United States you gonna go against. Is that what you gonna do? Oh my God, let's keep going.
So most people don't know this, but New York City's future mayor has been arrested while attending one of those less than peaceful protests. And what nobody's talking about is that if the person running New York City gets arrested at these out of control events, this place might not have a whole lot of time left. And when you look at the wild violence sweeping our streets from the anti-ICE crowd, you need to understand that if one of the leaders of this radical movement gets to run things, New York will undergo changes that are completely foreign to America. But there's another way to look at this, because if the chickens get to run the henhouse, so to speak, our future mayor may be one of the most successful in history at accomplishing his goals, even as this place self-destructs. For example, he's campaigned relentlessly on making New York City more affordable, something that's bound to happen if the nonstop rioting and lawlessness take over completely, forcing the law-abiding to take their families and full-time jobs somewhere else, vacating apartments, and taking pressure off our meager housing supply. Less people also means less competition for groceries, and with food and rent being the two largest household expenditures, New York's future socialist mayor may accomplish these things by riling up the city against President Trump. But that brings us to the real reason why his victory might not just be a massive problem for New York, which could see a huge population exodus in the near future. It could also be a huge problem for the progressive movement in America as a whole. And this may very well cook the Democrat Party, because as deep blue cities like New York, LA, and Chicago double down on the struggle by encouraging surging anti-ICE
Look at
lawlessness.
this,
The rest of America is watching what's transpiring under the noses of America's progressive leaders with absolute horror, knowing full well that if those National Guard troops weren't standing there, the rest of us are next.
This is where those two officers were attacked overnight. Police say those officers were pepper sprayed this morning. We spoke to an eyewitness who says he actually saw a woman come up behind one of the officers. The officer then backpedals, he says, drew his gun, all while she was screaming at him.
So if you're gonna elect somebody who's got the same views as screaming anti-police protesters, the city that does that is gonna need to buckle up, because New York could soon be the first place in America where leadership actually supports and defends the actions of the very rioters they themselves have a lot in common with. Activists like the woman pictured here who went after those two police officers, sending them to the ER. The New York Post is calling her an anti-Israel protester. She's ripping up some of the hostage posters referencing October 7th. Now, who do you think she's gonna vote for? You know, there's only one candidate I can think of, and as you're about to see, nobody else is even a close second.
Nut job. I think the people of New York are crazy. If they go this route, I think they're crazy. We will have a communist for the first time, really, a pure, true communist.
What's more important, however, is that we have a mayor who will actually fight back. And that's what I will do. I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare as a progressive Muslim immigrant who actually fights for the things that I believe in.
If Mr. Mamdani wins, which he probably will, New York City will have one mission, and that mission is to become the heart of the Trump resistance movement for the entire country. And if the president were to arrest him, he would just become a martyr for the cause, just like Vladimir Lenin, who did hard time for his activism, which, surprise, surprise, he learned about on a college campus. But what about President Trump? After all, he just won a landslide presidential election. And there are many people who thought America was turning a corner. And if that's happening, how could somebody who's an alleged communist win such a high-profile upcoming mayoral race?
And it shows Assembly member Zohran Mamdani clobbering Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary race for mayor. After just 3 rounds, Mamdani holds a 12-point lead, 56 to 44%. It was the most votes cast in a mayoral primary since 1989. Mamdani receiving twice as many votes from other candidates than the former governor.
Last Tuesday, Democrats spoke in a clear voice, delivering a mandate for an affordable city, a politics of the future, and a leader who can stand up to rising authoritarianism.
The former governor is...
So, when your competition is former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who resigned and has a ton of baggage and was incredibly controversial, and when you're a much younger, much more articulate, much more handsome speaker, the base is gonna come out for you, and that's exactly what happened here. He totally destroyed all of the establishment candidates with their money and their deep pockets. And although the former governor promised the same things as Mr. Mamdani, to stand up to Donald Trump, when people look at the former governor, they don't see a man who's gonna come in and transform anything. Plus, he had a massive track record of problems. But weak competition in the primary wasn't the only reason Mr. Mamdani won. Here we have a 2024 general election map. This was the presidential election results, and as you can see, most of the country shifted red. Progressives got wiped out everywhere. But when the only progressives still standing are those along the coasts and in sanctuary cities, they're now going to receive support from progressives in areas of the country that may have shifted red. And these hero politicians, as we'll call them, the AOCs, the Gavin Newsoms, these people benefit from national attention now because progressives in the rest of America are angry they lost and they need someone to look up to. They need leaders. And candidates like Mr. Mamdani benefit from greater levels of support than, let's just say, our former state governor. But even though these progressive leaders may benefit from a large level of support that traditional politicians don't, this right here, this might be a big problem for the party on a national level.
Well, it's just fascinating to see him talking on video about his plans for socializing grocery stores or housing. We have experienced this before in the world. It's usually a complete and utter disaster. And also a problem for Democrats because they're already viewed as being so extreme, having radical views on the transing of children or other extreme policies. And now this guy comes in, an actual member of the Democrat Socialists of America, party, and they openly call for the end of capitalism, and he's poised to become mayor of the city most associated with capitalism, sort of the crown jewel of capitalism in the United States. It's a disaster in the waiting if people go down this path.
So she's right. Absolute disaster. Most people know this, but you got to understand something. In New York City, hatred of the president and of America is what they're voting for. So when he wins, none of us should be surprised. And who's he going up against? The mayor who gave us the asylum crisis but has since recanted and is now running as an independent? Or the Republican nominee who is only on the ticket because nobody else wants to be on it here? To me, this looks like an easy win for Mr. Mamdani. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised this hasn't happened yet. We already had former Mayor Bill de Blasio, who is to the left of our current mayor, Eric Adams. De Blasio was a true defund the police progressive. But now with his election imminent, Mr. Mamdani becomes not only mayor of New York City, should this work out, but also one of the leaders of the Democrat Party.
We went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed. We've seen time and again that this is a property tax system that is inequitable. It's one that actually Eric Adams ran on saying that he would change in the first 100 days. He's since sought to defend it and lost at every juncture in court.
Oh my goodness. And people said President Obama was a brilliant, gifted, eloquent speaker, in spite of the fact that these are radical, terrible plans. But everything he's saying makes perfect sense to progressives. Of course billionaires are bad. Of course private property's bad. Of course systemic racism exists in America and we need to do everything we can to fight it. Therefore, redistributing income by socialist policies is a good thing. And you know what's crazy? The very voters in those richer, whiter neighborhoods, well, if we check out how they voted in the 2024 presidential election, you can see that many of them are probably in favor of this too. I mean, do you think those voters are going to go vote for anybody on the next ballot that doesn't have a D next to their name? Of course not. But what about Wall Street? What is Wall Street going to do? We seem to wonder about that because this is the financial capital of the world.
He wants total control. He's a Marxist. And I think you're right. Wall Street is going to move with their feet. The taxes are going to be exorbitant. The average person isn't going to be able to afford things. And trust me, I mean, he's in this fancy package with a bright smile, but that is not going to fix the problems of New York City.
So if businesses leave, that very well might hurt the city. The tax base is going to go away. There's not going to be any money for all of these redistributive policies, but you got to understand and remember that when socialism fails, the reason that it fails is because it didn't go far enough. We didn't have enough socialism. We didn't have enough communism. We were held back, and that's why it didn't work. For example, if the city falls apart because its income earning tax base leaves because of crime and discrimination against businesses, the solution will not be to roll back bad policies. Instead, it will be to double down on them, because the great enemy we're all fighting against, wearing a red hat, sitting in a White House, Donald Trump, in this evil capitalistic country with a border that it now plans to enforce, that enemy's still out there, and as long as it's still out there, we've got a war to wage. But as alarming as all of this might be for New York City and other progressive sanctuary cities in America, for America as a whole, this could push the country even further to the right.
They allowed this anti-Americanism and anti-Semitism to infect their party, and they got some votes from it, for sure. But now it's coming for their party, I think. And I don't, other than just completely disavowing these policy positions, which they're going to have to do, what else can they do here? Except,
you can see that
I guess,
the Democrats Democrats are freaking out about this, in part because they know they're already being viewed as the party of hate and anti-Semitism and unrealistic economic ideas. And to have this guy who's so prominent be the figurehead is very bad for them, but it's also the natural result of what their party has been doing in cities and states across the country for decades. We've dealt with mismanagement of cities and states. A lot of his ideas are very radical, but still the natural end of what we've been subjected to in Los Angeles, Chicago, New York for a long time.
Right, all of those cities that were just listed, these are progressive, holdouts. These are places President Trump cannot and will not win. And it makes sense that in these strongholds, the leaders there are going to continue heading towards left field with nothing to stop them. But if you're a Democrat in other parts of America and you want to win and get votes from the people still left in your party, you're going to need the support of these progressives who are nationally popular to win elections. They're the new power base in this party. Everybody in the Democrat Party is going to feel pressured to get on board with the socialist way of doing things, and Democrats who refuse to do that no longer have a political party.
Jason, really quickly, will they try to Biden him, meaning somehow push him out of the way?
I think they have to, but come on, you came up with Andrew Cuomo as the guy to run. You couldn't come up with somebody better than that. That's what's the party is so upside down and lost, and they're being eaten up by the radical left.
Yeah, Trump keeps winning, and they just grow in their own bitterness.
So you've got to understand the entire Democrat primary that basically decides who's going to be the next mayor of the city. The city is not going to turn a corner and vote for a Republican candidate. I mean, most people don't even know we have a Republican candidate. People in this city want to vote as far away from President Trump as they can. They want someone who's the complete opposite, and there's only one candidate on the ballot who fits that description.
I am Donald Trump's worst nightmare.
If this election goes the way it looks, I don't know how New York City and America as a whole are going to get along at all, but maybe that's the whole point. Maybe we're looking at some new October revolution. What do you think? Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
I don't think it's good to call out the president and go against the president so quick and fast, and when he's still running and haven't even won New York yet. But it looked like he's gonna win. Man, I don't understand people, man. Can we all just get along? Golly. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the descriptions, man. I'm lost, man. I'm over here thinking, is Trump doing a good job? He ain't been in there long enough to know. He said he gonna get these illegal immigrants out of here. They illegal here. Now, I don't know how these people need to do their job, but at the same time, I don't believe in hurting people. But if you gotta go, you gotta go. And you refusing to go, we gonna have to make you go. I don't know, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. This is so sad, man. Peace out.